Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Baithak podcast. I'm your host DD, and joining me once again today is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be talking about the upcoming triple header in the F1 calendar. So, let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant, how have you been?
Hello Divya, I have been well and eagerly waiting for three back-to-back weeks of Formula One racing.
Absolutely, and I can't be happier considering the timing of the Formula One triple header because my final exams end this Saturday, and I have a 3 week break before the next academic term starts at my university. So, the perfect timing for Formula One to have a triple header. Pretty sure the
Yeah.
teams are not happy about having a triple header in the first place, but works out perfectly for me, so I'm not complaining. But lots to talk about. A lot of news, coming out of the F1 paddock in the build-up to the French Grand Prix. So, Esteban Ocon's news came out just this morning. Esteban Ocon signing the 3 year contract extension with Alpine. And I think that's great for him, shows the team's commitment to him and goes to show that, they're happy with him and Esteban is their uh, lead driver for the upcoming years, just like Charles is at Ferrari and then Lando and McLaren.
Absolutely. I mean, he had a decent last season and he has had a relatively better this season, the start of the season, compared to what machinery they have currently. And they needed to sign a driver for the future because we know 2022 new set of regulations and Alpine, the team is the restructuring and all those things going around at Renault and Alpine. So signing Esteban for the longer term, wonderful decision. But that leaves the question for Pierre Gasly.
Well, yeah, silly season is just about to start. There have been rumors in the paddock that that Mercedes will be announcing that they'll not be continuing with Valtteri Bottas as their second driver at Silverstone, but there has been no official confirmation regarding that. But definitely a lot of rumors. And talking about restructuring, Williams has a new team principal now. Not just Josh Capito will be stepping in as team principal and as CEO, and the technical director de Maison will have more responsibilities, um, starting from the French Grand Prix, since they let go of Simon Roberts, who was the interim team principal once Dolan Capital took over.
Yeah, definitely. So again, Williams, a team, trying to come back under new leadership, under new ownership. So let's see how this new structure works out.
Definitely, and it'll be interesting to see if Capito, gets other people from his time at Volkswagen and other teams, gets those people into Williams in lead roles. So that'll be something to look out for. But the developing story for this news weekend is the new flexiving rules, which will be enforced. They're probably being enforced right now as the teams are undergoing, the technical inspection. So starting from the French Grand Prix, the new flexi wing rules will come into action, and also there has been, after the investigation by Pirelli on the tire blowouts in Baku, there have been new tire regulations and procedures that have been put into place going forward for the rest of the season. So that is another thing that will, that might cause an issue or a few hiccups throughout the first couple of weekends in both in France and going to Austria.
Yeah, the results from that investigation, what Pirelli said and what the team said, it's very contradictory, and I'm not sure it is all the parties are telling us the absolute truth. I still find someone is trying to hide something to avoid, uh, to avoid getting the blame or something like that. But I mean, I've seen it online, and a lot of the respected journalists have also questioned the results. But let's see how it moves forward.
Yeah, definitely. For our viewers who don't know what Pirelli exactly said, Pirelli basically said that the running conditions of the tire caused a circumferential break in the inner sidewall. So, Pirelli did say that it was not up to the debris. It was not because of, um, illegal use of illegal tire pressures. The teams didn't put in tire pressure lower than what was said. but the teams might have impacted how the running conditions of the tire were affected throughout the race, which led to a tire blowout. However, at the same time, the teams have said that they worked with Pirelli to, during the investigation, and they said that they followed all the specified protocols throughout the race weekend. So they're still unsure about why exactly the tire blowouts happened. But it's understandable if they're not, especially Pirelli is not coming out and telling us what exactly happened, because after all, they are in Formula One for the same reason everyone else is, to sell more tires at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if their tire integrity is said to be bad, they won't be selling tires anymore. And especially if this keeps happening. So again, I don't think the story is going to develop any further, especially with the new protocols and regulations. But once again, like I said before, Pirelli might just bump up the minimum tire pressures going into the weekend just to be on the safer side, so that these things don't happen.
Yeah, definitely. But coming on to the new flexi-wing rules, now Paul Ricard has been a Mercedes-dominated circuit for the 2 seasons we raced there, 2018 and 2019. Mercedes absolutely dominated every single session and had, I guess, both front-load lockouts in both qualifying. Lewis Hamilton won both races and got both pole positions. So it has been the absolute domination under Mercedes domination, and with Red Bull coming from beneath and leading championship, having the de facto faster car this season. If these new flexi wing regulations are going to affect Red Bull, and like if Red Bull were in the grey illegal zone, France and Austria will hit them hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to talk about that, since both, at least France and Barcelona share similar circuit characteristics, right? And we saw that the Mercedes was definitely dominant at Barcelona, especially with how they handled tire degradation, right? So Red Bull struggled a lot with the tire degradation in Barcelona because they had a low drag wing setup, so they didn't have as much wing on their car. Which led to higher tire degradation, whereas Mercedes, which is inherently a low drag car, then could put more wing and use more downforce throughout the race, which led to lesser tire degradation. So that is another aspect that will play into the weekend. And you're absolutely correct to point out the fact that Mercedes has dominated in France, and the way the car characteristics and the circuit characteristics are looking, they should be the clear favorites going into this weekend. And if you look at even last year, even if you look at Austria, Mercedes did have a better outing than Red Bull, given that Albon might have gotten punted by Hamilton, and Max Verstappen might have had a DNF in the first race, but in the second race, Lewis and Valtteri finished ahead of both Max and Alex in P3 and P4. So you could also say that that Mercedes have had the upper hand in Austria over the last couple of years, although Max Verstappen did win in 2019. But things are a little different now, and I think the Red Bull Ring, the Austria race will be much closer compared to the France race, just because it's a shorter circuit.
Yeah.
And I don't think the cars will be affected as much.
And the Austria middle sector it's favorable to the Red Bull car, those high downforce sections. But again, if Red Bull was using that flexi wing,
it only puts them much
Yeah.
further behind. Their advantage
It's-
will be cut short, and whatever they were gaining, they won't have that advantage. Or whatever they had on Mercedes will be cut back, even if it's a little bit. So they're definitely losing some performance compared to Mercedes going to this triple header. But yeah, do you think Valtteri Bottas will bounce back this weekend? He did have a decent weekend in Monaco. It was not his fault that although Toto Wolff did come out and say Valtteri didn't come straight into the pits, he was at an angle or whatever, but not really his fault in my opinion.
Yeah.
For a botched up weekend in Monaco, did have a dreadful weekend in Baku, but Valtteri likes Austria, Valtteri likes France, so can we expect Valtteri to come back and score some points for Mercedes?
See, I'll just say it again. I hope Valtteri Bottas does come back and does score points, but he's under a lot of pressure right now with all those rumors going around, and he's already far behind Lewis and Max in the World Championship. So, and we have seen Valtteri can get flustered and lack performance when he's under pressure. So it's a very like important juncture for Valtteri, because of course George Russell has said he wants his future sorted by this summer, and if Valtteri can't perform in the next 3-4 races, Mercedes will be looking outside.
Absolutely, and you can't talk about Sergio Perez if you're talking about Valtteri Bottas. Sergio Perez has taken the fight to Valtteri Bottas in a sense, and his contribution in France and Austria will show how much he is at one with the car. Although people say that France is an easier track at the end of the day because there's not much you're not
Runoff.
punished for making mistakes as much. There's so much runoff area, but again, it's a little bit of a different track layout. It's not the same as the street circuits. The grip levels are different and things as such. So a lot of variables at play. And if I think Sergio Perez can come out at the top after the first couple of weekends, I think Red Bull are looking at a constructors title championship fight at least, if nothing else.
Definitely.
But you got to talk about Toto Wolff, man. He is having a meltdown. I mean, we mentioned the same thing in our last podcast, but he's been blaming Valtteri. He took a stab at Lewis and Lewis's comments, and then Lewis had a little bit of a meltdown regarding his mistakes. When he accused the team of not doing their job at Monaco, and then when Lewis messed up in Baku, and they're going back and forth. And I'm sure these things used to happen behind closed doors ever since it's a team, so there will be fights and there will be disagreements and there will be little stabs and stuff, things like that. But these used to happen behind closed doors, and this is like the first time you're seeing Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton make such comments out in the public about the team and so on. I guess it's more understandable coming from Lewis Hamilton because he's usually just out of the car or in the car when we hear these comments coming from him.
Yeah.
And there have been instances in the past, but it's just getting more and more regular from Toto Wolff. And is that something that the Mercedes team should worry about? Because if the team principal is getting worried, if he's getting frustrated, that will trickle down in some way or the other throughout the organization.
Definitely. I mean, we talked about it in a previous podcast that the pressure and like the pressure is getting to Mercedes. They are not the Mercedes of before. Yes, of course, Red Bull and Ferrari were always at their tail and trying to win, but Mercedes was comfortably ahead from both the teams, and they did not have to fight for the championship and fight till their last breath till now. And now they have lost both the lead of both the championships. So definitely that pressure and that does affect every person. Now, Toto Wolff has always said that we don't point fingers at Mercedes and at each other in Mercedes and all these things. But then again, when you hear things like Lewis talked in Monaco and all these stuff, you question what the team is going through and how the team can move forward.
Absolutely, and I think I pointed this out earlier, in our preview, I think, for the Baku Grand Prix, that, is the fact that Mercedes might have stopped the development a little too early, considering they wanted to, get a head start on next year, might be affecting, the performance on their car this year, and that might be frustrating, Lewis Hamilton and straining that relationship that Lewis has with Toto Wolff and so on and so forth, because Lewis's contract talks are looming. From what we have heard from Lewis, he does want to stay in Formula 1 and he wants to keep winning. But how the season pans out might affect, what happens at Mercedes, especially since Toto Wolff also, if you guys remember from, the postseason, the news that was coming out after the 2020 season, Toto Wolff was looking to step down as team principal and, looking for a factory-based job rather, so that he could take some pressure off of himself. So, this might just be important for Toto Wolff to, win this championship so that he can step down as a successful team principal, as the most successful team principal probably in the history of the sport. So that might be like a personal goal for Toto Wolff that he's not being able to achieve as easily as he thought he would.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a lot of factors into play here, but Mercedes do need to get their act together. And I mean, although they have potentially a faster car after the new flexi-wing regulations, they might have the faster car, but still Red Bull have the upper hand in terms of composure and in terms of performance right now. So, Mercedes do need to step up and get.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and this is probably the best chance, before the summer break to, get ahead of Red Bull and score some points and make a gap to the Red Bull team, both in the drivers and the constructors championship. But enough about Mercedes and Red Bull. Let's talk about McLaren and Ferrari. Uh, McLaren and Ferrari both had a great outing in 2020 at Austria.
Yeah.
Ferrari not as much as in France, I guess, back in 2019. But 2019 is a long way back, so let's not look all the way back to 2019 as much. And looking at the car characteristics, you would say that McLaren should be ahead of Ferrari going into France and Austria. However, if you remember the Barcelona race, Ferrari did have a better result than McLaren in Barcelona this year. Daniel Ricciardo finished P6 and Lando Norris I think finished P9 at Barcelona, whereas Charles Leclerc finished P4 and Carlos Sainz finished P7 on what was a rather boring race. Everything went according to plan. Nothing went haywire or anything during the race. So if that points to something, you would say that Ferrari should be ahead of McLaren going into this triple header. But we've known that Lando Norris can pull out the punches, and the way he's been performing this season has just been insane.
Yeah, I mean the Austria circuit, in my opinion, suits the Mercedes because, the McLaren, because there are not too many slower sections. It's a very fast and very short circuit, very flowing circuit. So that definitely will be beneficial for McLaren. But France, as you said, might be beneficial for Ferrari. But again, Lando Norris had a bad qualifying because of a deleted lap in Barcelona. Without that deleted lap, without exceeding track limits, he would have qualified P4 or 5 and finished about there. So
yeah, definitely. I think the fight is on.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, McLaren should come out ahead of Ferrari if nothing goes wrong. If they have like average race weekends over the next 3 weeks, McLaren should come out ahead of Ferrari in the constructors championship. In my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean the two races in Austria will definitely boost McLaren's chances.
Absolutely. But talking about McLaren, is this Daniel Ricciardo's best chance to get up to speed? Since it's it's a triple header, it's not the most punishing circuit, and he'll get a lot of time in the car back to back. So is this Daniel Ricciardo's best chance to get up to speed in that McLaren and score some points? Especially considering that you don't have a lot of back to back weekends anymore. Heading up to the summer break.
I mean, it is the best chance, and it is probably the most crucial chance as well. Because if he does not get it right in these 3 weeks, I mean, he'll be way behind Lando. He'll be way behind his other competitors in Leclerc and Sainz and all these guys, and obviously that pressure and that cycle will continue. So, best chance and most crucial chance, definitely.
Absolutely. Although Daniel didn't have a great outing in Austria in 2020, I think he finished. He may have finished in the points in one of the races, but I think he had a DNF in the other one. So yeah, another story to look out for in Daniel Ricciardo's performance. Who else do you think has a chance to score some points over the next 3 weeks?
I mean, Alpine has been showing promise, but I'm not entirely sure about them. Again, AlphaTauri and Aston Martin had great street circuit weekends as such, but again, going back to normal circuits, it's hard to say where they'll be.
However, AlphaTauri did show like a lot of pace during qualifying, even in the first few weekends in Bahrain and Imola. Pierre Gasly did put it in the top 5 every time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pierre Gasly is on the top of his game, so he might make it to Q3, but as a team entirely, and Yuki Tsunoda coming up, I mean, I'll be happy to see him in Q2 at least.
Absolutely, and maybe there will be some points potential for Alfa Romeo if we have a couple people dropping out from the top of the grid, from the top 10. But that's really all from my side regarding the Formula One weekend. Um, regarding the Formula One weekends that we're going to have over the course of the next few weeks. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, yes, Formula 3 is back this weekend. They'll also be racing in Austria during the second weekend, but that's some time away. So, in Formula 3, Dennis Hogger is leading the championship ahead of Ollie Caldwell. Both of them won a race each in the first weekend in Barcelona. Dennis obviously won the feature race and got some points for fastest lap and pole position. So that's why he's leading the championship by 2 points. But Ollie Caldwell had a brilliant weekend, got 2 podiums. So it's going to be interesting. Formula 3 is always very interesting. The grid is always very competitive, and this season is going to be no different. Very excited for that.
Some more F1 related news though before we wrap up this podcast. Marcus Ericsson won the IndyCar's round 1 of the Chevrolet Detroit GP this past weekend alongside Kevin Magnussen who also won the IMSA Detroit GP with the Cadillac racing team, and then
Chip Ganassi.
Pato O'Ward's the Chip Ganassi racing team, and then Pato O'Ward's title fight is looking more and more promising in IndyCar, and this is making me even more excited for his end of season test with McLaren. At the end of this year, and then Kevin Magnussen is set to make his IndyCar debut for Aero McLaren SP at the REV Group Grand Prix, which is at Road America. So Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen will be sharing the track once again without within the course of a year. And more news coming out. Interesting news regarding McLaren. McLaren is joining Extreme E next year. Kind of surprising news for me. Because Extreme E is not really an established series. It's kind of fledgling almost, I'd say. I don't think they have garnered a huge audience over the past couple of races, and there's a lot of reasons why I feel like Extreme E hasn't really taken off in my opinion. But kind of surprising that McLaren is investing more and more money into racing when they just recently sold their technology center, and they're renting that space, and they just got out of a really tough financial situation.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how they're going about it, because there have been talks about them joining Formula E and even endurance racing. So definitely very interesting things brewing up at McLaren. But for Extreme E, I suppose it's one of the cheapest series to enter at the moment, because the car is a stock car, a spec car.
Yeah, essentially.
A spec car. Sorry, and all the transportation is done by the series itself. All the park for men, all the paddock facilities are done by the series itself. There's not a lot of investment required for joining Extreme E in that sense. Of course, for electric racing and off-road racing, off-road vehicles are new for McLaren. So in that sense, it's a completely new avenue. But it's very interesting to see McLaren trying new racing series and grow as a racing brand, which we'll like to see.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely exciting to see any of our favorite teams go racing even more than they are right now. But just a surprising decision in my opinion. I'd rather see McLaren, like you said, join Formula E and do well there, because it is a well-established series now, or maybe even go do some endurance racing like Ferrari or Peugeot and the likes of Audi and Volkswagen.
Yeah, they did say that they are looking at these things, but they are evaluating them at a pace, because the last time McLaren entered straight away in a new racing series was when Fernando Alonso raced at Indy 500.
Indy 500,
and that did not go very well, and that was kind of
Absolutely.
embarrassing for McLaren. So that's why I said, for Extreme E is a cheaper series to enter, and that's why they have entered it. A Formula E and endurance racing require much more investment and much more development time. So that's evaluating. They are evaluating it as we go, and we might hear news about them at the end of the year. That's what we have heard.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, yeah. That's totally understandable. But talking about Extreme and Formula E, Formula E's new circuit in uh,
Yeah.
Puebla, I believe. A really interesting circuit. They're using an oval track, so there's like they're using a section of the oval track, and interestingly, the way you take attack mode on this circuit is basically you have to do a Joker lap to take the attack modes. And I think I threw this idea out in one of our podcasts before that Formula One could do something like this. Learning from Formula E. But again, I think it'll be interesting. I don't think it makes a huge difference. Just because it's like a different route. I think it'll just be it. It'll be the same for Formula E, I believe. It's just a longer route. You still go off the racing line and you join the racing line once again.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the only plus point I see is no one will miss the activation now.
yes, that is true. That is probably the only plus point. But I don't see it making a huge difference over the course of the race, or impacting the race in any way, just because it's like a little different offshoot from the main circuit. And last but not least, DTM debut for Arjun Maini at Monza. So all the Indian racing fans out there, please tune in to the DTM for the first race of the DTM season this year to support Arjun Maini this weekend. But yeah, that's all from my side. Anything else from you, Vedant?
No, not that I can think of. I mean, 3 weeks of Formula One racing and absolutely packed. I mean, this weekend is absolutely packed with IndyCar,
Yeah,
with
F1, yeah, Formula E,
DTM, yeah,
IndyCar.
Formula E,
Absolutely.
absolutely, as you said. And luckily for us, France is one of the most boring races. I believe at that time DTM might be on. I'm not entirely sure. So if you feel sleepy, just look for a DTM stream, because
Hmm.
DTM and touring car racing is super exciting. It's one of the most exciting kinds of racing, and it's everyone's packed and the leads changes every lap or two, and it's very competitive. So yeah, tune in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vedant, for joining me once again this weekend, and thank you for our listeners for tuning in. But yeah, that's all for this week before the race weekend, and we'll join you on Monday once again. See you then.